Hello and welcome back. We are here continuing our USA run. Last episode, the big story was we managed to figure out that if we just significantly decrease our trade routes, that is to say that if we just decreased our trade routes from like 350 to now we're only running 86, we pruned even more in the interim, that the game, while, still being kind of slow, is somewhat playable. Like it's okay, it's proceeding, it's a game, we're gamers, and so we reclaimed the run after quite a bit of time off of it. We also got some very, very substantive gains in that time period. Notably, we got Austria for freezies, good dealsies, with what is kind of the story of this run, which has been that we have this massive conscript army, we shake it in our opponents' faces, and then they give us stuff using the yo-yo sway for basically no price. Now the Florida Men army is now 3,200 conscripts. We never raise it, but they're still scared of it anyways, which I would be too. And so that's where things are going, or things went. This episode, we will be getting up to 250,000 population, especially with the integration of Shaanxi, which will probably be this episode, which has 16 million population on its own. We will almost certainly get to 250,000 with our overall goal of the run, getting to 500,000 kind of as quickly as possible while maintaining low infamy. Obviously, we could just take a bunch of Qing states and this would be like a little bit faster, but this is what we're going for. We're also probably going to hit the 100 or the 1 billion mark. Certainly the loud cars are doing their thing outside for it. And also in the interim, we put in a whole bunch of stuff into the construction queue, which does cause quite a bit of lag. So the game will be a little bit faster once we clear all this out, but we won't have any sort of decision fatigue. And what we've put in is kind of a lot of furniture and glass, because I think that we will be coming off of our glass and furniture company sometime soon here, once we finish researching electricity. And so this is going to be the plan. So we're going to leverage the construction bonus that we get on furniture and glass while we do this, as well as needing to produce more because we aren't going to have the throughput. So we have a whole bunch of this all over the place. We have kind of our auto queue producing things, which is going to be, part of the course. We see a bunch of those. We see some iron mines. We have quite a bit of navy in here. I think we have about 100 ships, maybe 60, and we have a bunch of universities. The universities are in Jiangxi and Fujian. We're having trouble employing. We've also taken the time to put in a promote social mobility edict in the interim in both of these places. Not really because we need the qualifications, but to raise the literacy in these areas. Because if the literacy cranks up a little bit as we are incorporating them, we'll get to the point where if we build it, there will be people to employ it in. Kind of is the situation in Beijing. And in particular, we are looking to really attack the unemployment numbers, which are kind of in these provinces, basically, with the idea being that unemployed pops don't grow at a very high rate, and so they don't grow at a very high rate. I was forgetting if it was mortality or growth, and so we want to get them employed as quickly as possible, even if they're employed as peasants, and so that's going to involve building in these areas. And the main limiter right now is their ability to employ. We have a bunch of buildings here that just don't have employment because they can't deploy up because literacy and qualifications and etc. Mostly etc. And then we also have quite a bit of agricultural stuff. We were looking around kind of the USA, and we put in a whole bunch of agricultural stuff specifically in areas that had a lot of peasants and an available arable land, or an arable land count, unused arable land, available arable land for construction count that was over 150. If my math is correct, or my looking at it is correct, you get the maximum bonus for migration attraction for arable land. You get the maximum bonus when you are at 150. So if you have 200 arable land, it's the same as having 150 with 0 pops in it, as having 200 with 0 pops in it. And so in these areas that in particular have a lot, as well as having a lot of peasants, we've taken the time to add a whole bunch of agricultural stuff, especially because we already have pump jacks, and we just recently researched the next tier in the, not the final tier, but the next tier in the grain-oriented one. And so you can see we will have a bunch of those there. There's some more glass. There's a little bit of lead for the glass, and that's kind of the auto queue, and that's what we'll be doing. We're currently fighting a war to integrate Minas Gerais. We're still going to primarily try and go for more North and South America as best we can, rather than kind of conquering just random stuff out in the middle of nowhere. We do, of course, have some really key provinces here, and we were trying to get Great Qing to go Heavenly Kingdom. This would have been preferable. This run is definitely not optimized. I think for it to be optimized, you need the Heavenly Kingdom to pop because you need someone with open borders, but we've done our best to, kind of push, despite having kind of a negative roll, push for these circumstances anyways. We're getting a bankroll from, from France. This is really huge. This bankroll is for 1 million. It will cripple them over the course of time, and so we are hoping that they decay down into a minor power, and maybe we can find a way to subjugate them for free, much like how we did Austria. They are in our market. They are our protectorate. We got it for freezies, good dealsies. But anyways, that's kind of what's going on, where we're going, and let's be off and on our way. All right, something we had done is we pissed off the UK last episode, and then we joined a war on their side in exchange for an obligation. The purpose is we wanted a trade agreement by joining on their side. They went from being antagonistic to being cautious, and now they are genial because they are in the same side of this conflict as the United Sovereign Archduchy, which just basically overrides everything. So now we can get a trade agreement, and with this trade agreement, we can get ticking positive relations with them. And generally, this is a really strong play pattern with which to have with GPs because it allows you to, tick positive relations. And so now it will be easier for us to sway into things on the same side as the UK, which is fantastic because we would love to nab at some point both Canada and Ontario. And in Ontario might be a little bit more difficult, but we would love to get these in sways. We'll try and go for Ontario first if we can, if we have the opportunity to get either one, because largely a huge amount of the times that we are getting free sways from them, they have to do with their subject rebelling. So we really do want to have the UK having a lot of subjects. These wars are going easy. There's not really a war that we can't win, except for our fleet got defeated, so big sad on that front. But there's really not a position or a war that we could go high infamy at this point, but I think that showing off some of these mechanics is a little bit more interesting than going high infamy and just kind of taking everything and fighting everyone simultaneously. Also, we really do love expanding the market as diplomatically as possible. It is big fun, big nice. We would love to get after the Bengali market, but we're having a little bit of trouble with that. And this is, of course, why we are bankrolling people. It's because we are hoping to, at some point, pull them into the market, for freezies, good dealsies. Now, most of these guys have closed borders, so they won't accept, or they won't send pops over to us, like countries such as Persia and Ottomans will. But even if they're not sending us over pops because they have closed borders, they still can provide us with kind of a lot of value in that they have a bunch of consumers that will eat our goods and these sorts of things. And they will allow us to, build stuff a little bit better. Really, Adwa, I think, was in our market, and now they're not, so we're going to bankroll them as well. They've moved to the Bengali market. We would love to pull the Bengalis into our customs union, and also a big part of why we're building the Navy is to depress everyone's power rank level. If we increase our own prestige, this makes it harder. There's two calculations that allow you to increase in rank. One of them is average prestige, and the other one is percentage of the highest prestige. As we increase our own prestige, we make both of these numbers harder and harder and harder for the AI to achieve. All right, it looks like the ever-popular Mr. Norton himself has died. Emperor Norton has no more. Unfortunately, he has died. This is why we are suddenly running a massive deficit of this stuff. I think we're just going to keep our edicts in. This will give us more radicals and it'll give us oppo negative kind of approval. But I think we can afford to run this at this point in time. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a look. We were just keeping Mr. Emperor Norton in charge because we liked him a lot, and it was the memes, but I think we're going to look to go Council Republic if we can do it without revving. I'm not sure we can do it without revving, though, to be honest, but I think at the very least we might look to go Parliamentary Republic. To be fair, the transition from Monarchy to Council Republic is in some ways a little bit easier. So I think we're going to be on the lookout for this, though. We're not going to do this immediately. We can change, for example, one of these guys to something like a radical, which will make them not care as much about this type of thing, and so try and set up our government like that to be able to swap. There's a few reasons for us not to want to swap. The market we were just very proud of will fall apart if we swap, but it will help us to increase SOL, and it will also help us to get more pop growth. So as we get closer and closer to having a larger share of the world's population, also generating more pop growth by moving our SOL average towards 20 will be desirable, and this would help us in that regard. We also would help siphon more migrants for mass migrations, but in terms of intermarket migration, countries like Ukraine, Ottomans, and Persia will all leave us basically the instant we do this, and also it'll be harder for us to reverse sway to do stuff like getting Austria for free if we end up going, communist. And so a little bit to think about. The GDP is also really high at this point, which makes communism more attractive because of the GDP malice, the investment pool malice is so substantive because all investments are multiplied by 0.67, which scales with the size of your GDP. So this is kind of what we'll be thinking about kind of as things unfold, or looking for opportunities to go communist. If it were really, really, really easy, we might do it. It looks like kind of not too hard. Making the jump from monarchy to council republic is not one I'm that used to. For example, the fact that these guys support us, the armed forces, is a result of the nihilist ideology, which, if I'm not mistaken, the nihilist ideology doesn't care between all the republics. And so normally when you go parliamentary, the nihilists won't be of assistance to you, but here they are of assistance to us, which is kind of not exactly what we're used to. All right, so we got steel railway cars, so we're going to upgrade to steam trains. Notably, experimental trains, horrible PM. Steam trains, much, much, much better. A lot of places will not be profitable initially, but overall this will be better. We're also going to take the swap from wood to steel, which is probably going to look unprofitable, but over a long period of time, this is going to be good. We're making some concessions to trying to play relatively good without super, super micromanaging everything. We, of course, do have this to swap over, which this gives us the big nice. If anyone else has fireworks like us, if anyone else can roll with us, if anyone else has one of these skyscrapers, we should, by turning on this PM, we should be able to send out a Zeppelin, but it looks like no one else has it, so that's big sad. We will just cry ourselves to sleep. But also, we were waiting for the very finishing of the Lima company, or the company here in Lima, which was producing, or the construction in Lima, which was producing power plants. Now, we can begin to electrify our country, which is, of course, a very tedious sort of thing, but in order to do that, we're going to ditch this company over here. We're going to disband this. We're going to take a quick look. The Shaanxi company is now available to us. That one's actually a little bit attractive. So we have this generic tools company. We have the Carnegie Steel. We really want to have an iron company. We want to have a railroad company. So this one's maybe on the chopping block. There are some better companies, but I think we're going to stay with this. I think we're going to stick with not having the Kaiping Mining Company. It's a very strong company, but this is the company that we just fulfilled the requirements for, building 5 electric plants in Lima, where it is going to give us a faster construction on our power plants. So we're going to electrify everywhere. That's going to be an enormous majority of our construction for the next maybe year and a half, something like this. And so we're going to establish this, and this is going to also look to give us plus state construction efficiency. The infrastructure per 100k population is not too bad, though. In areas that are not super densely populated, it's not increasing the cap, but the main right home is going to be the 5% state construction efficiency on everything, and it's going to make us construct specifically the power plants 40% faster, because we're also going to be getting the company bonus. So I really like this company, especially because, you hit a phase in the game where you're going to put in a ton of this. We're just going to be blasting this like everywhere, basically, and so we're going to be doing, just full-on blast in most of our really, really incorporated territories, and look to kind of get these going. We're going to put a whole bunch down everywhere, but these are just an example of some of the ones we're starting out on. So just a few mass migrations later, we have surpassed Great Qing as the most populous nation on the earth, and our graph ain't slowing down for nobody. We break for no one. So we actually got a government petition to pass parliamentary republic, so I think we're just going to go with that, and the idea of transitioning eventually to council, something like this. Also, we just slotted in the armed forces because we were fiddling around with some stuff, and man, did it crank up how well the Republican Party is going to do. So we're expecting the Republican Party to do pretty well. We were thinking of going mass conscription, but then we noticed the 3% conscription rate versus the 5% conscription rate. Since we're just waving our Florida man at people, we would prefer to have the 5% over the 3%. This is a reason to maybe go National Guard, which is something we're currently considering for additional 2.5% conscription rate. This is perhaps reasonable. Perhaps this entire run is unreasonable, so that's fair. But I think for now, we will make a little bit of a transition to Council Republic. I wonder who's going to be our leader. We have a lot of our cooldowns in terms of inviting guys and this sort of thing, and so we would love to get a leader that gives us infamy decay. This would be really nice, something like this. But we'll just click the button for parliamentary, and we'll see how things shake out from here. Big nice. We are continuing along our way. I always forget about this event where you can get additional progress towards either shift work or steam turbine. I think we're already researching steam turbine. We're going to get 6k of progress, so we're just going to finish it here. And then we're going to immediately switch to electrical capacitors. We're going to turn on steam turbine. The PM for the base electricity just sucks really, really hard. Very often, even with plus 75 prices, you can't get places to employ up, but this is not a problem you get as much with the power plants we have here. And so we're going to go in and also make sure we're turning up all the PMs here, and we are just going to override, even if it's not profitable. Our auto queue, of course, is going to go absolutely ballistic and way overproduce these, such as the way of the world, but eventually we'll reach like somewhat stable equilibriums of these things. We don't want to uber micro it, and we can't if we wanted to, so we're just going to turn on everything that we can, hope that the places employ up in a somewhat reasonable manner, and hope that, you know, oh, well, power plants in Jiangxi, if we could select a place to get overproduced in, it would be here. There's really no place that we'd prefer to here, but if we take a quick look here, we will see that we have 20. They're not even fully employed, not even remotely close to fully employed. They're at about 10% employment, and if they were fully employed, you know, there's no way that they would be overproducing like this. Now, in theory, what we could do is from the very outset, we could be pretty gnarly about putting in subsidies, and if we put in the subsidy, the place will employ up, but we'll just hemorrhage a ton of money if we subsidize all the electricity at this point. I mean, I guess maybe there's not too much. Maybe we can subsidize all the electricity. This is not a play pattern we have really been too keen on, but I think maybe we'll just subsidize all of it and see how that goes. If this collapses our economy, we'll cut it out. But we're going to expect this place to instantly employ up, and then following employing up, like, obviously with 10% current employment plus the 7 on their way, there's 0% chance this place is profitable at the end, you know, when this thing gets fully employed up is the thing, and so we'll just hemorrhage a ton of money, and we'll have to take a look. Our current subsidies, going into this were about 200,000, and already, even without like a full employment up, they're already up to 500,000. Yeah, there's no way this is tenable. It's not remotely tenable. We can't subsidize everything. The prices just collapse, and it's no good. That's unfortunate. Okay, well, yeah, okay. So we annexed Shaanxi. They kind of went down without a fight. We also swayed to get Inner Mongolia. We did pass the 250,000 mark here, and we, you know, integrated this over here, so kind of a few moves have been made. The chess pieces are, of course, moving quite slowly. We need to kind of fill the queue. But we also, very importantly, have swayed into this for a bankroll from the UK. So now we're going to squeeze the UK like a zit, just like we've squeezed the France like a zit. France has more land than kind of normal, and they're at a major power. And the big reason behind this is they have to delete a ton of their battalions and a ton of their flotillas, and even still, they can't support it. Look, their GDP is just collapsing, and they can't afford any of this because they're sending us 1 million in a Diplopact. This is why, by the way, or 1.2 million, sorry. This is why, by the way, we have max taxes, because it's based off of, the Diplopact is based off of, I'm not sure what all it's actually based on, but I know your taxes do inform it. So if we decrease taxes, in particular, we will end up significantly decreasing the amount of money that they owe us. So, for example, if we do this, you can see that where Diplopacts goes down by like 400,000. So we're keeping it high to squeeze them like a zit, and until they pop. And we're going to do the same thing with the UK. And so right now, while they have 180 battalions and 152 flotillas, and they can kind of afford all this stuff, it's not going to be for very long. I do believe the bankroll stays for about 10 years, something like this. But in that time, we are hoping that they decay down and have a rev, and that the rev is a minor power, just like what happened with Austria, so that we can sway to gain control of the entire nation. If we take a look here, there's 4 great powers remaining. Italy's kind of out here, and France is not even that close to like getting a great power. They need another 50% prestige. In fact, if they dropped another third, they would be a minor power power by themselves, which is something that could very realistically happen if they rev. And are they going to rev? Well, they're probably bankrupt right now. In fact, we could check and see if they're bankrupt. They are in default permanently, and they declared bankruptcy just like a year ago. Look, they have 10 years remaining on their bankruptcy, so that means they just kind of declared it, and they're in default again. So we're hoping to do the exact same squeeze to the UK, who won't be able to afford to, you know, send us $1 million a turn or whatever, not a turn. And by doing that, significantly weaken them and make it easier to sway for stuff like Canada. We weren't able to get Canada. Oh no, we can't get Canada for freezies, good dealsies when the Mosquito Kingdom rebels, because everyone knows you really, really can't have the USA side against you when the Mosquito Kingdom rebels. Alright, so our industrialist boyo literally has the literary trait, so we're going to throw him into Gov. We, of course... Ooh. He does not become the leader. No. That's a lot of oscillating between Chancellor and not Chancellor. He should be the Gov leader, because he's... Yeah, okay, Andrew Carnegie. Wait, is this Carnegie himself? Is this Andrew Carnegie, the man, the myth, the legend? Dear Andrew Carnegie? He's a historical character, ambitious, literary, experienced diplomat, brave, big nice. I had no idea he was in charge of our, you know, trade unions. Well, this is fantastic because he's giving us plus 25% infamy decay, which combines quite nicely with our plus infamy decay. Now, of course, us going parliamentary here is going to create this, and that is too big an oppo negative. So we are going to have to get rid of some things. I think what we're going to do is we are going to get rid of some of our, unfortunately, greener grass campaigns, and some of our, we're going to get rid of this promote social mobility. You know, I think that we've increased the literacy. We're just trying to kind of yank it up, kind of to get things started and rolling a little bit here, and then I think that we don't really need money anymore. This, of course, unfortunately will cause us to squeeze the boys less, but it is what it is, and then we will look to get rid of one greener grass campaign here, and so let's take a look at what we have going. I guess we can let go of the one on Acre. Acre's really hard to kind of get people to come to, though, one of the problems. But it's currently on a 20-year incorporation, and so it's not like it can get access anyways. The big reason why we're trying to get stuff going on in Acre is in order to complete the journal entry here for exploiting the Amazons. We do have to kind of get stuff going here in terms of our urban centers, so that we can get more infrastructure, more state construction efficiency, this type of stuff. And we are trying to invest and front load the investment in order to make these states better. So for example, if we take a look for exploit Amazonian state, we can see what currently we have Mato Grosso, right? And this is giving us 10% state construction efficiency malice, 10% infrastructure malice, 10% migration attraction. After we click this, first of all, we get this event, which is going to give us a plus 100% migration attraction, and for 2 years we will have some state construction malice and like this type of stuff, etc. But we will have this a significantly reduced modifier that is only giving 10% infra and state construction malice alongside a 20% migration attraction bonus, and so, you know, it will be possible for us to really continue to pull pops into here as we have been doing, you know, for some time now. And so this is kind of the idea with Acre, but it's so far away from the big loud car outside that this means that it's going to be quite a long time, you know, 16 years until we are able to get a lot of people here, until we're able to get a mass migration. Notably, we are trying to force mass migrations are to the surrounding area as well, so we're kind of trying to force more pops to come to Acre through utilizing the Lima mass migrations, but overall it hasn't been that successful. But that's like something we are working on as well. And unfortunately, we also do have these slots filled, so we won't be going, you know, any type of Council Republic immediately. But who needs Council Republic when you have Andrew Carnegie? Capitalism has won. There's victory in the nation. The unions, the trade unions, we can forget about them. We have we literally have the literary guy. We have also, very importantly, hit the shift work technology, and throughput. Back in 1.4, throughput used to be the name of the game. You used to really play super balls to the wall, just trying to maximize throughput, and since shift work has not spread to us, it gives plus 20 economies of scale, building level cap, and this is really good. And so what we will be doing in terms of our queue is We will be moving everything that's already 31 up to 51 as long as the earnings look somewhat reasonable, because the movement from bringing something to 31 to 51 is so much bigger than the margins from, because of how the math works, from bringing something from like level 1 to 31. When you build your 31st building, it's effectively worth 160% of a building, because you have 130% throughput on that building, and every previous building, and this is excluding throughputs from like throughput bonuses from companies and decrees and this sort of thing, but you are getting the 30% on the marginal building plus an additional 1% on the previous 30 buildings you built, bringing them from 29 to 30% for a total of 160. When you build the 51st building, it's worth 200% of the building, because you are not only are you getting 150% of the building from the throughput itself, but you move the previous 50 buildings from a throughput of 49 to 50. And so this is why, in particular, you do want to push really aggressively up to 51 once you're kind of near it. And so this is what we will be doing with our queue. And so we are going to have a fat queue, and that fat queue will cause the game to lag more than it already is, but that's okay. It looks like we have a very good opportunity to get France into our market. That's right, France into our market by taking on their debt, which we, of course, are causing. This is just 5 months worth of them paying us. So we're just going to take on their debt, no problem. And once we have an obligation, which this won't save their economy, us taking on their debt, that's not going to do anything really. We're going to use that obligation to pull them into our market. So France is now in our market. That's the French Republic, of course, in the American market, as we like to see it, as it should be. It is a bit interesting to note that France's economy rebounded super sharply just as soon as they joined our customs union. Of course, they have better buy and sell prices, but the important thing for us is that now we can siphon off pops from them directly, which is going to be pretty attractive, and their, mass migration attraction, or their migration attraction on average, is going to be way lower than ours. So if we take a look and we hover over, migration attraction, we'll see that that's France, all there in red, and that's us, all there in green. So we should be able to rip off a ton of pops from them, and this is going to make it so that I think that this, on top of, our boyo, the man, the myth, the legend himself, dear Andrew Carnegie, who is literary, the combination of him and, France being in our customs union, and they would leave our customs union, is going to make it so that, okay, we're not going to go Council Republic at this point in time, even if it economically makes more sense. Our economy's popping off anyways, it's really not that big a deal. The name of the game is, of course, about pops, and this is how we're going to steal the most pops. Also, for those of you who wanted to see it, big market, big nice. We have 8 infamy, by the way. This is our market at 8 infamy. So this has to be the most schizophrenic relations change chart I've ever seen. Great Britain is rivaling us, giving us -1 negative progress, or -1 progress. Great Britain is bankrolling us, giving us +3 progress for a net of +2 progress. Great Britain is damaging relations with us, giving us -3 progress for a net of -1. Great Britain has a trade agreement, giving us even, kind of relations, and then we are improving relations, giving us +3 progress. I think this is the most I've ever seen. It's quite schizophrenic. It do be like that sometimes, and here we are. Alright, so we're not exactly starting a lot of plays, so the fact that we have the obligation bricking the UK from decking on us is maybe not as useful as we like to think, and we've actually swapped from improving relations to instead bankrolling them, because it only costs it only costs 70k to bankroll them, and they're paying us. They're paying us over a milli, over a cool milli, 1.2 milli, as it were. So I think we're just going to absolve the obligation, which will make us ineligible to be rivaled, and so this will get rid of this, and hopefully make antagonistic go away. The whole idea being it's going to be easier for us to do things, because we're no longer eligible for a rival if we're cordial, so this is going to go away. And since we're bankrolling them anyways, we might just randomly bink an obligation at some point in time, and we can keep good relations with them in this way. We've wound it down or incorporated a lot of guys into our customs union so that we're not quite spending as much, which is going to give us, more of this infamy decay modifier, which is going to be pretty good, and it's kind of what we're going for here. As long as we can make something that's legitimate with the industrialists in it, we're going to keep going on and keep on keeping on with the literary guy, who is, of course, Andrew Carnegie himself, the big Chad. So handsome. Look at this guy. How could you say no to a guy like this? I'm about to vertically integrate you. Yeah, and by that, of course, we are talking about Carnegie Steel, the best steel company in the West. So I think we're actually going to conclude the episode here. This episode, we've gotten quite a bit done. We integrated a whole bunch of this in South America. We also integrated Shaanxi. I don't think we... well, we got France into the customs union. That was pretty substantive, which you'll love to see it. They recovered quite a bit in terms of the eco off that. You can see them kind of coming to the most powerful economy they've ever had. But we're hoping that we continue to siphon off pops from them, especially from this area that they annexed quite a bit ago, and so this sort of thing. We managed to get bankrolls from both the UK and France, but I think the story, at least as we're trying to tell it, is of course, you know, Big Chad Handsome himself, Andrew Carnegie, but also we managed to, in this episode, get to 250,000 pops, and I think that's probably the most substantive thing, as well as we have passed the 1 billion GDP mark, and man, we're screaming past it. I guess we're stumbling a little bit here, but we have coming in electric railways, which is going to be particularly good. After that, I think we're going to do more prod tech anyways. We're getting quite a bit of natural spread, but it's not really doing anything, so we should probably just delete our universities in, you know, New York, because they're not too useful. We still like the universities over here, because they are allowing us to employ up the pops, and this is more important to us than anything else, trying to get rid of the unemployment number, or not anything else, but we're trying to get rid of the unemployment figure, in particular, because if we can get rid of the unemployment figure, we will be able to, you know, grow the pops much better. How did Irish people get here? Anyways, we will be able to grow much better these populations, and so this will help out, and we're trying to maximize pop. I think last episode we had like 2 million unemployed, we're down to 1.3, and we will continue. 73 million gainfully employed, 92 million radicals. I mean, we have a lot of population, and I guess we could take a quick look at this chart, because we just passed 10k prestige, where the next best person is under 1,000. So we're 10x the next guy. Great Britain is down to, you know, the piddling 713, which is, you know, a result of them being squeezed. I think they had about 130 and 130 in terms of flotillas and battalions, so I guess they're not deleting them off yet, but they did declare bankruptcy just, you know, a year prior, and they're probably going to be in default pretty soon here, and so, you know, that's going to be rough for them. They're probably not going to accept this because they're antagonistic, but this antagonistic is going to re-roll pretty soon here, so that's kind of how things are going in terms of just comparing prestige, in terms of comparing GDP. Amusingly, in our customs union, not in our customs union, not in our customs union, in our customs union, not in our customs union, not in our customs union, in our customs union, not in our customs union. Look, Italy is a GP, they're down at like rank 10, and they're like they're the number 4 power. Adwa is not in our customs union, they're the biggest guy, like kind of not in our customs union that we could try and get, and we're hoping that we get an obligation so we can pull them in. You know, the American East Indies, it do be like that, and so, you know, Ukraine, customs union, and Scandinavia we're rivaling, but I don't know how long that's going to continue, and then SOL, we do have the second highest SOL in the world, the first highest other subject, we do have the best GDP per capita at 4.76, and finally, of course, if we look at it, we are the most populous country now by a margin of 50 million, and so we're just going to keep screaming ahead and keep on keeping on until we get 500 million pops. I almost forgot, except I did forget. The truth hurts. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It does help out. You know, do the YouTube algorithm thing, say big nice in chat, and other than that, have a good day.